Hey internets, it's Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and this is Scribes and Scrolls, the Candlekeep Mysteries, Book 7, Under a Red Moon. This is Chapter 68, Ghosts in the Trees. Oh, excuse me. Starting off right.
That's one of the ghosts.
Yes. This is our final live episode of 2022. But fear not, for all of December, on Monday nights, we will be having special interludes, one-on-one sessions with each of the players and their characters. We've already gotten to work recording those behind the scenes, and starting next Monday, we will be airing those, and at the very least, myself and maybe some of the others will be in the chat during those. So we'll be hanging out with you while those are happening. Yeah, so that's going to be coming up. Tomorrow night is Avernus, Descent into Avernus, Road Warriors of Hell. And that is going to be our last live session of that one for 2022. But tune in tomorrow. You can find myself and Dwight there along with some of our other friends and our amazing Dungeon Master Vi, taking us on one hell of an adventure, pun intended. Yeah, tune in for that. Otherwise, we will be taking the month of December off for pretty much the entire month, with the exception of the Monday night interludes, which sounds way dirtier than it is, but I don't know. Wait till you see the shows, I guess.
Or is it?
Wait until you see what Mizya gets up to.
He hasn't recorded mine yet. So.
Yeah, Mizya.
Oh boy.
It's not Mizya After Dark. It's Mizya Under Dark. I don't know.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. That's smart funny.
Hey, speaking of smart funny, we've been playing this game for how long now? We started in April of last year. So we're at a year and a half, I think.
Mm-hmm.
68 episodes plus 68 episodes plus 6 interludes. And I only recently figured out what you did with your character name, how you came up with your character name, Dwight. I'm not even joking. I only just figured that out. I know, and I must have not been paying attention.
It wasn't a secret.
No. But I just figured it out. It was just, I think I saw a meme or something about about it, and I was just like, oh yeah, Yzma.
Yep.
Yzma.
Yeah,
Wait.
Wait.
Wait a minute. I was that Leonardo DiCaprio meme going.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just 18 months too late, but that's all right.
So I'm pretty quick with it.
Better late than never.
It's a good thing I'm your dungeon master.
Right?
Oh god.
Speaking of dungeon mastering, I should probably get into doing some of that here in a few minutes. The only other thing, two things that I want to mention before we get going are, one, if you look up above M's head, you will see that there are 18 domain tomes. Those are a way that you, the audience, can have a little bit of an influence on the game simply by subscribing, gifting subs, resubscribing. You can cheer 500 bits, you can tip $5, all that good stuff earns domain tomes for the players that they can use for things like rolling with advantage, re-rolling, or they can spend 5 tomes to make me re-roll. Now, there is a special limited edition domain tome. At one time, I had 5 of them, which is the maximum that I can have. They are a little bit more, but it's a way if you want to give your dungeon master an early Christmas gift. It lets me roll with advantage, re-roll, or spend 5 tomes to counterspell a player DM re-roll. They won't lose their tomes, but they won't, whatever roll they had that they tried to re-roll, I can make stand. So remember that. All of that goes, of course, to help support the channel and aids the players and possibly the DM in gameplay. The only other thing I want to mention, of course, before we start playing, we talk about this all the time because it is so important, is just a reminder that you matter. Your presence here on this earth makes a difference. Whether you believe it or not, it is true. That's why we talk about it before every single game. Mental health is something that is super important. And we want you to know that it is okay to not be okay, but you do not have to struggle alone. You can come here to our chat anytime and you can type in !help, as I've just done in the chat. A couple URLs will pop up, find a helpline.com. Or you can check out takethis.org's growing list of resources. Excellent help resources at both of those sites. Encourage you to visit those sites, bookmark them, save them for yourself, save them for a friend, and remember, you matter. With that, I think it's time to play some Dungeons and Dragons. All right. Most recently, we have the book club here has found themselves, you have found yourselves rather, teleported way far to the north, something like 1,200 miles away from Candlekeep with no way to get back. And it's in some of your original stomping grounds where you hailed from originally, more or less. And we've sort of, at the same time, in a meta, kind of peel back the layer a little bit, we opened up the campaign to a little bit more of a little more sandboxy. If you want to follow along with where we are, and this is for you, the players, as well, in the chat, you can type !FR map. And that will bring up an incredible Forgotten Realms interactive map. It has distance tracking and it has all kinds of things that are marked on there. You can search for locations. So if I say the name of a place, you can probably search it and see exactly where it is.
Follow along at home with !FR map.
Yeah. Whoever makes those maps, they do an incredible job. There's one for Waterdeep and there's a couple other settings that we've used them in the past. So very valuable resource. So please do check those out. Anyway, you found yourself far in the north, and you relatively recently met your new halfling companion, Marda, who informed you all that there might be a way to save both Togo, who had been turned to stone, and Vorn, who had been killed in front of you through a powerful magical spell. And it would involve you traveling to the High Forest, which was a few days away, but you have a deadline because you have to get there by the end of the day of the summer solstice on 20 Kythorn. It is currently the morning of 19 Kythorn. You found yourself in a place called Olliston's Hold, where some of you partook in a challenge at the tavern known as the Flaming Flagon. Teera attempted her hand and was quickly burned.
No pun intended.
And Doc stepped up and made it several rounds in, breaking the local record, earning several hundred gold pieces and a mysterious magical key. During your time at that tavern, there had been an altercation outside in which somebody had been forcibly ejected from the tavern, their nose bloodied. Later, they returned along with the rest of their posse being a contingent of the local militia group known as the Silver Jackals. This particular contingent was led by none other than Thava the Hammer Fiend, one of the half-black dragons that serve as leaders of this militant organization. Thava being a half-dwarven, half-black dragon. Thava and her crew were intimidated by Doc, who gave a very inspiring and threatening speech. In which
inspiring is a kind word.
Yeah, in which he said
something.
He said, "Look, we don't kick asses here. We bury them in the ground so deep that their names are forgotten." The next day, you all woke up. There was a bit of a commotion. The person who had bloodied the nose of one of the wardens was was taken in the night. And Brannix, who you had met at the tavern, kind of said, hey, can you help me? They give you some horses. You ran out to meet them, whereupon, charging up to them where they had this man tied up to a tree, and they were threatening to kill him, this contingent was around this tree. As you raced closer, Doc spurred his horse. You saw Doc transform from what you know to a different person wearing a dark hood, who reacted very violently, and in the very first action of combat struck down the half-black. Not just the first round, the first turn of the first round. It was such a brutal
second.
It was such a brutal attack that most of the contingent took off on their horses and left. You very quickly dispatched the remainders of this crew, and this mysterious Doc threw the body of the half-black dragon over his shoulder and disappeared into the woods. And that's where we're going to pick up as we see Teera and Vornushka and Marda and Mizya standing around with their horses. There's a couple of dead bodies of a couple of militia that stayed behind. You see movement at the wood line where Doc disappeared a little while ago. Cari, describe what we see when you come out of the woods.
Doc is walking out of the woods, and he's just sort of trundling forward. He's like tightening up his backpack and straightening himself up, and he's just sort of wandering out, looking at everybody. Hello.
And Teera takes like a defensive step away from him.
Doctor?
Mizya? Hello?
Are you all right?
Yes. Should I not be?
Well, you weren't you a moment ago.
That seems strange.
It was.
Doc, what's the last thing you remember before coming out of the woods there?
Before I remember coming out of the woods, I think I was doing some carpentry.
What were you building?
Wasn't so much building as much as tearing down.
What was you tearing down?
I don't know, a structure of some kind. I can't really remember. It's a little fuzzy. I do remember a saw, though.
Do you remember anything about another person? Like a short person that's also maybe half of a dragon kind of person?
You mean vertically challenged? No, not that I can recall. As far as I know, I was by myself.
How far away is the tree line? About? Jake? Ish.
Trying to remember. It was a little ways off. It's not like you're standing right near it. It's several hundred yards probably.
And Teera's Teera's not getting close to Doc at all. Like, she's normally gotten on pretty good with Doc, and she's not like welcoming him back. She's very like standoffish and concerned. And she would look at Marda and be like, we need to get moving, right? We need to get to the next check. I don't know, wherever we're going.
What's the elapsed? What's the elapsed time on this transformation of Doc? Like, has it been like just a few seconds, or has it been Like,
No,
many
he was
minutes
gone.
or?
He was gone for a little while. He told you guys to go forward, but apparently you all waited for him. So it's been at least 30 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. Pause for 1 second. As we make a quick camera adjustment here.
Oh, a wild ruckus appears.
Well, he's not showing up on screen yet. I have to get the...
Oh, dang. Everybody, behind the scenes.
There he is.
Ricky's here. There he is.
Welcome on in. Quickly bringing you up to speed, Vornushka.
You're muted, my friend.
Doc has just emerged from the woodline as his normal self, with no memory of what happened.
Sorry for being late. My bad.
No worries.
Let's see.
Yeah, Teera's just looking at him very concerned, and we've wasted a lot of time. We have to keep moving.
When you look to Marda, like she looks pale, and her eyes keep flitting from like not making eye contact with Doc at all, but like moving from Teera to the tree line where he just emerged, and then back, and yes, we will have to ride pretty fast in order to get there, and we still need an item for fall.
Vernushka is gonna walk up to Teera and goes, "He's not normally like that."
No.
Interesting.
Yeah, you could say that. Well, Marda, if we pass a garden or something on the way, we'll grab a gourd or a pumpkin or something and steal it.
She just nods very quickly and turns towards the horse.
None of that will matter if we don't make it in time. And Teera would. You don't know how pumpkins grow, Jake. I grow pumpkins. Anyway, there's something in the summer. So I would hop up on the horse that I was on and say, Mizya, Marda, I don't care, one of you who's riding with me. And I would like put my hand down and like kind of like be like giving like a come on kind of gesture for one of them to hop up in the saddle with me.
I will just kind of, I'm still kind of eyeing Doc, but I'll reach up and grab your hand and
Hup.
I've like, it's all you. There's no like,
Yeah.
you're just like flinging this purple mass of flowing robes onto the back of the.
Yeah. So I pull Mizya up. I'm like, oh, let's go, chop. And as soon as everybody's mounted, Teera would go off pretty fast at like a quick clip.
So, you know that you need, from where you are now, you need to go basically southeast of Olliston's Hold. That your sort of one of your markers is as you look far to the south and you see the high forest that spans hundreds of miles. You can see straight to the south that there is a very small range of mountains with more mountains behind them. And you know that Grandfather Tree is slightly east of that smaller mountain that you see. And of course, if you look at your map, you can see exactly where the Grandfather Tree is. And you know, if you just by having the riding horses, you've cut quite a bit of time off of your pace. Previously, if you were moving at a fast pace on foot, you knew that you would arrive with only a few hours left in the day. Now you're likely to get there by late morning or early afternoon on the 20th. As you begin your trek, I need 3 people to roll d20s for me.
Dibs. 12.
12.
15.
12, 12, and 15. So, what that means, as I consult our wilderness GM
Hurricane.
screen, what was it? 12, 12, and 15?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, it's early summer. It's already feeling like it's going to be a warm day, but not terribly hot. You have the shade of the trees that within a couple hours you'll be deep into the forest. There's not much in the way of wind, but as you're riding for the trees, you feel raindrops begin to fall. It is a light summer rain. Nothing to be too terribly concerned about.
Teera, I will cover both of us with my parasol.
Oh, thank you. How kind. Teera doesn't
Mizya.
notice.
Make a strength check.
Okay.
God, hang on, Mizya.
That's a 3.
Oh, Jesus. Can I make a reflex
As
save?
you're riding on horseback, and as you open this parasol and say, "I will cover us both," it goes flying out of your hand.
Oh, damn it. No.
I mean, you're on horseback. You can turn around and go get it if you want, but
I think I'm just like, I see it happen, and I'm just like, and then I just kind of like resign myself to the loss
it's
of my
gone.
parasol.
Oh, damn it. I'll get you a new one.
It's so wet.
there's Mizya.
They're
I'm so
they're
wet. Wait.
So wet.
Anyway, moving on.
Shut up.
Well, just
Teera
saying,
is scanning
moving
the
on.
landscape for anything that could be construed as fall stuff.
Okay.
I mean, I'm thinking like as simple as like a vegetable, a corn, or something like something that
Yes,
like
wild
harvests.
forest corn.
Oh my gosh, Jake. Being very. I'm just gonna say, for somebody who doesn't garden, you're being very critical.
How do
to
you
somebody
know
who
I don't
grows-
garden?
Do you garden?
I don't, but how do you know that?
Okay, no, I just had just a
Your
instinct.
earlier outburst was without context when you yelled at me about pumpkins because I said something in our side chat that nobody else
For
saw.
the record, I do grow pumpkins and gourds and corn. So.
Ask M about the last pumpkin they saw in one of my games. You remember the
okay.
carnivorous gourds?
Oh.
Go ahead and make an investigation check. And I'll let you roll that straight up since you're riding on horseback. You have a higher vantage point.
10.
Okay. I would say the closest thing that you are seeing that looks like anything related to autumn is old dead tree leaves. Old dead tree leaves. Jeez. Old dead leaves on the ground. Branches, things like that. You're not seeing a whole lot in the way of flowers or any other kind of growth here in the early summer of the fall variety. I would like one of you.
Go
ahead.
sorry,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, as we're riding, Doc is sort of gonna look back at the Einstein Jr. the duck, and who's actually kind of nestled in the top of Doc's backpack, and he's kind of got like a belt, and he's strapped into it, and it's tied to the sides of the backpack, and as they're riding,
His
and he
little
just
seatbelt.
he sort of just looks back and like, okay.
Okay. Oh my god.
As you move a couple hours in, you move into the forest proper. As you move into the high forests, you very quickly move from open plains and grassland to trees, and they're not so terribly close that it makes it difficult riding or anything like that. There's even some semblance of an older trail that seems to be leading in the direction you are going. But the trees are larger here. They seem to be a little more of an old growth forest. I would like someone to roll me a d20, please.
Got it. Figure it out, boys.
Oh, I was rolling. Sorry. That's 10.
No worries.
Can you hear me okay, Jake?
Yep.
Am I good?
Yep.
All right. That's 10.
13.
So as you're riding along, it's actually quite nice. The canopy of the forest cuts the temperature a little bit. Plus, with the coolness of the rain, it's less rain than it is. Eventually, some of the rain makes it between the trees, or sort of cascading down from the canopy. So, all in all, the morning passes along pretty uneventfully. I need one more D20 roll from someone.
I'll do it. 16.
Okay. Roll me a D100, please.
Oh, that is what is a 0, 0, 0? That is 100, right?
Yep.
100. Wow. The world explodes. Campaign over.
Well, okay.
Well.
All right, so your first several hours, I would say it took you probably a couple hours to get along until you came into the forest, and then you've been riding along for a few hours. We'll assume if you want to, you can have stopped briefly along the way for to eat or rest a little bit or whatever. I would also say, for the purposes of if anybody needs it, I would allow over the course of these hours that you can take a short rest if you needed it. But I don't know that anybody needed it, as Doc ended that encounter as quickly as it started.
Yeah.
I will also allow anyone who wants to make another investigation check. We'll say with advantage, as it's going to culminate multiple checks as you're riding, as you're looking for something related to the fall.
16.
I still only
7.
got an 11.
17.
We're making investigation checks, you said?
Yeah, looking for anything that might work as an autumn thing.
You can do it. $23.
Damn.
Okay. As you are riding along, and we'll say this is sort of as you've stopped for one of your brief breaks to give the horses a little bit of a break. There's a little bit of a intermittent stream that is running through this area, so you can water your horses. And as you're kind of looking around, Doc, Marda, and Mizya, you all spot the same thing. You notice this, you've been following this path for a few hours that's sort of generally leading southeast in the direction you're going. And and where you've pulled off the path to water your horses, you see just a little ways up, maybe 40, 50 feet up from upstream from where you are, you see a bridge. Just a small bridge. It's a little made of wood, and it's one of those like arch bridges. And you see that it has vines that have sort of curled around the posts of it, and there's yellow daisies and snapdragons and other yellow flowers that are blossoming all around it, and some what are the orange ones I'm thinking of that ET had?
Lilies.
Geraniums? Is that what I'm thinking of? What'd you say?
Lilies.
I said marigolds.
Oh,
Oh, there you go.
One of us really gardens.
I just call them all flowers.
I also grow marigolds.
So it seems very like it's very pretty. It's very idyllic. There's actually almost a mossy grass that sort of covers the area around there, and you can see this mossy grass leads away from this bridge across the stream and starts to meander into a different part of the forest where you can just make out maybe 100 feet away or so, the silhouette of a cottage in the woods.
Ooh.
And there appears to be smoke curling up from the chimney of this cottage.
How pretty.
Every time people go to cottages, it's never good.
Listen, we don't know that. This is
I
so
mean-
pretty. It's too pretty to be evil.
In our campaign, I mean, I'm just saying.
Mhm.
And Doc, you notice with your 23, there is a figure walking down the path. It is looks to be a human man. He looks like he might be somewhere in between his early 50s to early 60s. He's walking along at a pretty good, almost I would say he's walking along merrily. He has a little bit of a bounce in his step. He is wearing leather trousers and with suspenders, has a white linen shirt, and he has a blue felt hat. Think less wizard hat and more like something the Amish would wear. And he's whistling along. You can already start to hear this merry little tune as he's walking along. And he has a wooden yoke across his back with a couple of wooden pails on it as he's walking along. And he sort of whistles. And I can't really whistle very well, so just imagine as he does a little whistle, and then you hear sort of almost an answering whistle in birdsong from the trees nearby. And as he moves and starts getting closer to you all, it seems like you can hear the sort of answering bird call coming from the tree line as well.
As he's looking at this fellow and the birds, Doc is rifling around in his pockets for his book, and he pulls out something. He's like, "Huh, what is this? Is that a dragon tooth?"
Oh my god. Oh my god. He has its body parts. Oh my god.
What?
Frickin' half dragon. That's her body parts. This is so. Oh my god.
Excuse me.
His face.
You're a monster.
Hello.
You hear the the man sort of suddenly comes up short. Oh, Hello there!
Hey.
What are you doing here?
Oh, well, I was just traveling to the water to, well, gather some water.
Oh. You live here?
I do, just yonder there in the cabin.
Okay,
You and your
great.
friends just passing through?
Yes, we're looking for an object of the fall. Do you have anything like that?
Oh. You might have to be a bit more specific. Are you looking for an object of the fall of mankind? Are you looking for an object of the fall of the Netherese Empire, or perhaps the city of Trelanthar? Are you looking for an object of the fall of seasons, autumn?
There you go.
Oh, well,
Autumn.
entirely something different. Well, are you looking for something specific?
No, just an item of the fall. The season. Not the fall of the Netherese Empire. Not the fall of mankind. Not the fall of those other weird things you said. Just the autumn.
Oh, just as well. I don't have any of the other things.
Great. I'm glad we've spent the time communicating all the things you don't have.
Well, do you... If you could tell me, and he sort of walks towards the bridge, and you hear him stepping as he walks up onto the little bridge and crosses over it. You just hear his heavy footsteps on the bridge, the wood creaking a little bit. He sets down the yoke and takes the buckets, and he starts holding them down in there as he's just sort of looking over his shoulder. So you're looking for something that represents autumn? Perhaps a hint as to the purpose. Is this for spell components, or perhaps table decor?
We're headed for the grandfather tree, and we want to make an offering to the dryads, the one for each season, and fall was the one we couldn't find.
Oh. Yes, and he
something.
kind of looks up. Yes, I suppose it'll be the summer solstice again. Soon. You're seeking wisdom from Grandfather Tree.
Yeah.
And you want to give this fall item as a gift to the dryads.
And I kind of like look confused at Marda. The way he's saying it, it sounds silly, but it didn't when Marda explained it.
Surely someone so close should know about the travelers and the grandfather tree.
Oh, yes, I'm quite familiar with the Grandfather Tree. I've actually known of that tree for quite a long time. I've made a few pilgrimages over the years myself. And, well,
Okay.
if you are looking to meet with Grandfather Tree, and you're looking to present offerings to the dryads, I'm afraid it'll take more than flowers and pine cones or dried out gourds.
I told you guys.
I give Ornushka the
You-
dirtiest look.
You are right. You will have to make an offering to the dryads if you wish to see Grandfather Tree. But it's a bit more complex than that.
I'm not even a smart one.
Well, I wouldn't
Like-
sell yourself so short.
I know. Thank you.
No, she was quite right.
God. Oh God. There's gonna be a fight. Teera like crosses her arms and be like, "Well, what do you mean more complex? Spill it, please."
Well,
You need to bring more than trash to get it into the tree. Duh.
your
Duh.
orcish friend here speaks the truth.
Oh my God.
It is more than, well, I wouldn't myself call whatever you were preparing to offer trash.
Oh.
But That would be rude, and I don't want to be rude. Grandfather Tree's dryads are fiercely protective, and they want to be sure that the pilgrims themselves have good intention and are truly willing to partake of what Grandfather Tree's wisdom may be. You will have to make an offering to each of the 4 dryads that represent each of the 4 seasons. But they will claim a memory from you.
What? Yeah. How the hell will they do that? Like, do we get to choose which one?
Like a summer memory, a winter memory, a fall memory.
Again, your very large friend has the sum of it.
Ha! Claps the hands.
Whoa.
You must
Very
simply,
proud of you.
you must offer willingly a memory that is precious to you from summer, winter, fall, and spring. And that
Okay.
dryad will claim that memory as their own and add it to their collection.
Hmm.
Now, you don't each have to give of these memories. As you are traveling as a group, each one of you will be required. You will be required to choose amongst yourselves who will give such an offering. And if the dryad deems it to be acceptable, then you will move on.
Hmm.
I would warn you, though, that the same person should not necessarily give all of their memories. It can be a bit taxing.
Well, I have a few I'd be willing to give up, I suppose. So do we get to choose them or not?
The memories?
Do we just go up and say you can take one from me, or do we get to pick one and say, here, this one's yours?
Oh, you absolutely must choose the memory. It has to be a memory that is intrinsic to who you are, a memory that is precious to you. If the dryads are to let you pass the Grandfather Tree, you must be willing to give of yourself.
Well, we have some thinking to do, I suppose.
Well, you still have plenty of time. You're, better part of a day away before you arrive at Grandfather Tree.
And how long is it, by the way, until the summer solstice? I'm losing track of time a little bit. Sorry.
So it is currently 19 Kythorn. It is, we're going to say it's roughly about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And tomorrow is the summer solstice.
So we could like ride at just a reasonable pace, like a normal.
Yeah, your
pace, and
horses
still make it in plenty of
basically
time?
cut enough time off that you can get a full night's rest, head out in the morning, and be able to get
Okay.
there in the early afternoon, barring any
Okay.
troubles.
Well, sir, we obviously aren't asking to stay like in your house, but is there any way we could make camp somewhere around here? Out just off your property a little bit?
Vornushka kind of steps and hands a little pouch of coins. You know, it's probably 30, 40 gold. I didn't even count. And just puts it inside the guy's hands like, we want to stay in your house.
I just want to be clear. You're wanting to set up camp at 2 o'clock in the afternoon at this man's
Well,
house.
I mean, it's a.
I mean,
safe,
it's
a
up to
safe-
you
It's
what you wanna
clearly a
do.
save point.
This is
Uh,
ridiculous.
No.
How far are we from
Sorry.
like
You're like a day's journey away,
a full day? Yeah.
almost a full
so-
day.
Never mind. I don't say any of that. Do we? Well, all right. Well, thank you.
Vernushka still has a pouch of coins. Thanks for the advice.
Well, the
Dog
advice
wants
was
to look at the bridge.
Yep. Go ahead.
He would like to look at the bridge.
It's very pretty, covered in flowers, made of wood.
Is there a troll living under it?
With a riddle.
The bridge is not big enough to support a troll living under it, unless it is a very small troll. But you are welcome
What if it
to
was
look.
a baby troll?
You can certainly look, and
You can do it.
Jesus Christ. He's off.
Gotta do it before.
20.
there is no troll. There is a rather obstinate-looking bullfrog perched in the water under there. That, as you peer under, you just see this bullfrog just. Bud.
Lies.
Wise.
Okay.
No trolls.
Damn it.
All right. Well,
that's
let's go then.
So Vornushka, you gave the old man gold.
I mean, whatever was in the coin pouch, maybe it was silver, copper. I mean, it wasn't. Okay, let's say I gave him a couple copper pieces.
Well, that's a lot different than 30 or 40 gold pieces.
True.
Yeah.
But I kind of love Vornushka's just incomprehension of money. It's my favorite thing. It's the best.
It's
more or
perfect.
less-
Yeah, like doesn't care.
Why? Yeah.
It's
Why?
the Raiders.
Why would she care? It's perfect.
The old man looks at you, looks at the coins, and says, "Oh, well, thank you very much. So, any offering of advice or information was, of course, intended to be freely given." Saying this, he closes his hands around the coin and slides them into an inside pocket. You are welcome to rest here as long as you would like. This particular section of the High Forest, I call my home. It's where I lay my head and rest. And if you're ever passing through this way, you are welcome to stay.
And Vernushka is going to extend her arm. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. My name is
Bom Bombadil.
Bom Tomadil. No,
No.
my name is Jin Tordash.
Jin Tordash. Awesome. I love him. All right.
Vernushka, and kind of grabs his forearm and like this overpowering.
Vernushka,
forearm handshake.
when you grab this old man's forearm, he returns your handshake with the same strength and vigor as your own handshake.
Oh God.
Vernushka's eyes go like narrow, then wide for a moment, and then just laughs. Of course, I knew it. I can sense there was something about you. And just kind of like, this is a Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers.
Pushing pencils, Carl Weathers.
Yeah, but without like them having the long-term knowing one another. Just
Exactly.
acknowledgement of mutual strength and whatever it takes to get that type of strength.
Yes.
I would like each of you to make a charisma check.
These aren't gonna go well.
Tara's the most
And
charismatic.
yeah, I think it's just going to be straight charisma. And
All of us, or just those?
I want all of you to make a charisma check. This is. I'm trying to find a
I got a
particular
9.
document. that I usually have.
2.
Just a straight charisma, no persuasion or anything like that?
Nope, just straight up charisma.
19.
19, 9,
17.
2, 17.
3.
Oh, okay.
That's gonna be a 2.
So, looking at the average, only 2 of you got double digits. So, this is going to be lesser, but as Jin Tardash bids you farewell, he just turns back to you all as he picks up his water buckets and with barely any effort lifts these full water buckets up onto his shoulder.
Okay, yeah.
And he
he's
says-
suspicious.
Well, may the blessings of Bahamut guide you on your travels.
I know who Bahamut is.
And I would like each of you to roll me a D100. There it is. That's what I wanted. Open. There we go. So because this was a group check, you will be getting a tier 2 minor boon, courtesy of Spinning Fate, Heroic Boons and Banes,
No.
written by our own Gary.
Oh my.
Yay.
So I would
Sounds like
like
a wonderful supplement, Jake.
it is. It's
Wow.
I believe it's available on DM's
How can
Guild.
I get it? Ooh.
Yes.
World End.
Available on
Um,
DM's Guild right now.
DM skill.
Yep. So we'll just go around the horn as you all eventually get back on your horses and start riding. At different points along your ride, either landing on the head of your horse, on your shoulder, on the pommel of Teera's sword on her back, on the blade of Vernushka's axe. At some point during your travels, a golden canary briefly alights, and you are each going to be granted a minor boon. So, Gary, what did you get?
I got 2.
Before you got on your horse, good thing you remembered to stretch. The next time you have to make a strength saving throw, you get a +1.
Oh ho ho!
Nice.
What a wonderful boon. God,
Em,
whoever
what did-
wrote that.
And what did you
So
get?
useful.
At 20.
20. Oh, this works for you very well as a spellcaster. As you are the best you are at what you do,
Period.
Just the best.
Once-
That's it.
once
You're the best.
Once, when you cast a spell that has a verbal, somatic, or material component, you can do away with that. Now, as a cleric, being able to ignore a material component can be very important. Yeah.
Wow. That's OP.
I don't know if this will let me do this. there we
Hashtag
go.
you're welcome.
Thank you, Gary.
So that's Marda, that's yours that I just put in the chat. Gary, that's yours. Mizya.
92.
92 on the minor boons table. Oh. The canary spends an
Oh.
exceptionally long time perched on your shoulder. It lands and just occasionally chirps along to itself. You will re-roll rolling on the major boons table.
Oh, I love that the grouchiest one kept this beautiful little bird at the
That's
longest
something out
amount
of a
time.
Disney movie. Yeah,
Yes.
Just lights on my shoulder. 71.
Ow.
So Mizya. The next time you make an insight check, as you stroke an imaginary beard, it will provide you with sage-like wisdom beyond even your years, and you will get a +2 to your next insight check.
Ooh, nice.
All right. Teera.
I got a 45.
45
Like
on the minor
Christmas.
boons. For the next hour, your passive perception score. I'm actually going to boost this just a little bit beyond an hour because we're sort of doing travel mode.
Okay.
For the next day,
Okay.
your passive perception score increases by 3.
Whoa.
As those temple prescribed eye drops are really working out for you.
What a funny supplement. Humorously written and well balanced.
And finally, Vornushka.
96.
96.
There you go.
Surprisingly, for you, Vornushka, as you are riding along, this canary alights on the blade of the blood axe.
Oh, God.
And as it's sitting there, and it's doing that thing that birds do where they just sort of hop a little bit, and it's sort of hopping along the edge, and it kind of dips its head down towards the blade, and it actually, you notice that the blade seems to almost looks shinier, where as if the normal wear and tear where this bird is sitting is just sort of being cleaned up. I would like you to roll another D100 as you also will get to roll on the major boons table.
Wow.
Let's go.
Dang. Get these lucky ducks.
46. And I just need to, I'll tell you that result in just a moment. I have to check one thing specifically for your blood razor. As this bird has landed on the blood axe, and you see this sort of visual thing taking place, in your head, Vornushka, you hear a very familiar voice. What in the 9 hells is that vermin doing on my metal?
Wow.
If I had hands of my own, I would throttle it with but a single crush, listening to its hollow bones snap.
Oh.
But wait. There's something soothing about its presence. I will allow it this one time. You rolled a 46, you said?
Yes. Yes.
On the major boons. For you, God, I love these, Cari. The next time you have to make a performance check, you can do so at a +2 as you slide into some leather pants and get ready to wow the crowd.
Vornush, what do you mean slide? Vornushka's already in leather pants.
So
Incredible.
with those incredible boons bestowed upon you by the mysterious golden canaries that have appeared to surround you, that's a great place to take a break, as it is our usual time to take a break. So we're going to take about a 10-minute break, and we will return with the final half of this session. We'll see you in just a few minutes. And we're back. The rest of your day, your travel goes very well. You are at various times, you encounter these lovely birds that have provided you with just a sense of feeling really well. And of course, you've received some magical boons because of that. The blessing of Bahamut bestowed on you by Jin Tordash, the mysterious man in the woods. Eventually, though, you realize as the sun begins to set much later in the day, it starts to dip lower. It's not fully sunset, but under the canopy of the trees, darkness comes much sooner. Your horses have been riding all day. You're all a bit weary, and you need to set up camp. There's no particular reason to go through watches and all that stuff unless you have things you want to talk to one another about, which you are free to do if you would like to have conversations with people. We can assume you've sort of basically do a transition to the camp is set up, and you've circled the horses, and you've got a fire going, and what would you like to do?
Teera would be kind of off to the side, and she would be like handling this warhammer, this dwarven thrower, and she would just be kind of like looking at it, and then looking over at Doc, and then looking at it, and then looking over at Doc, and then finally she would get up and walk over to Doc and be like, "Hey, Doc, how you feeling?"
Hello.
"Hello."
I'm fine. How are you?
"I'm fine too." "So
Well-
I don't know how much you remember. Do you remember at all leaving Alliston's hold?
I do not.
And you don't remember anything about Kellen and anything like that? A big fight?"
Who's Kellen?
Okay. And I would look at Doc, and I would just be like, "The people where we set up camp last, I don't think you remember it. I think your memory might be a little spotty. But they thought the world of you, and they thought they wanted you to have this." And Teera would hold out the warhammer to Doc.
Oh. Doc will take it in his hand. He'll sort of look at it, and he'll say, "Oh, this is very nice. Thank
Think
you."
You're welcome. They wanted you to have it, and I wanted to be honest. I think you can throw it hard, and it'll come back to your hand.
Doc will chuck it.
You chuck it, and it goes about 20 feet and hits the ground and skids across the ground.
Shit! Sorry, Doc. I appears I've been had.
Okay, well, Doc is gonna go and he's gonna pick up the object, and he's gonna kind of like grab his backpack, and as he's grabbing his backpack, he's kind of gonna look back at Teera, and then he's gonna like sort of show her his back as he's like trying to muck with his backpack so she can't really see what he's doing, and then he's gonna like sort of you hear the stretching of leather as he's trying to ram this hammer into his backpack, and he's like, "Oh, okay, that's great. It fits perfectly fine. Einstein Jr., are you okay?"
Teera would kind of smile, and she would just say, "And you don't remember anything that happened between yesterday morning and yesterday afternoon? Nothing, huh?"
Nope.
And Teera would smile, but she kind of seems sad at the same time. And then she would kind of leave and be like, "All right, well, enjoy your new hammer." And then she would go and she would sit over by the fire and just sort of like staring into the fire like she's thinking.
Why is everybody so obsessed with yesterday morning to yesterday afternoon?
Because
Anything anybody wants to talk about is yesterday morning to yesterday afternoon.
you seem to not remember how much of a badass you turned into.
Oh no, I'm not a badass at all. I'm very gentle. In fact, it's a core tenet of my philosophy to do no harm.
Right. Well, that's interesting because the person you were did a lot of harm.
Vonushka. If he doesn't remember, I think it's fine if we let him forget.
I'm just saying what the truth is.
I'm saying maybe he doesn't need to know that.
Well, I'm saying
no-
you guys suck at communication around here.
I would stand up and I'd be like, Bonushka, we've known him longer than you have. It's none of your business.
I say it is my business. Especially because you've known him longer than I have.
Bonushka, not
Teera.
another word on the subject, please.
Or what?
Or you're going to give me the reason I've been looking for. Is that something you want?
Anytime.
And it'd be very much like getting closer and just frickin' like giving each other the stare down, I assume.
Mhm.
You would feel like a bit of like a very tiny figure standing in between you two. Two very large. And you look down and you see Marda standing there, hand kind of resting on the staff. You will both have lots of time after the grandfather tree to work out your differences. But we should discuss the sacrifices of memories that are going to be required of us tomorrow.
Well, I have something I'd like to get off my chest, but it's for the winter time. In other words, I have a winter memory.
That you want to get rid of?
One could say that.
I think that the purpose is that you should not want to get rid of it. It is a sacrifice. No?
I'm giving a lot.
We want to get rid of something we don't want to get rid of.
What does this tree do anyway? Just give us wisdom? What does it do?
Marda, I gotta be honest, I'm curious about the same. Is it worth it?
Communication.
Are you sure that... And I would look at Marda and I'd be like, are you sure that this thing can help save Togo and Vaughn?
Marta nods, like very seriously. Yes, I am sure that we will be able to save both Vaughn and Togo. I have seen it. I have spoken with the gods, and they have told me that it is possible.
Can I ask which gods?
You see, Marta gives Vernushka like kind of a grin. You know, I speak with many who decide to show themselves in the time between light and the dark. Does this matter?
I was just curious because some gods like to play jokes. Some gods are, how can I say, you should be on guard for. Other gods are very trustworthy. I just want to know. I just want to know which ones you serve.
You know a lot about the gods.
When you spend a lot of time out in nature as we do, you get to meet a few. Well, not in person, but you know.
Who is we?
Orcs. Or me and the Blood Axe, but yeah, us orcs.
Doc is going to be listening to this conversation between Vornushka and Marda. And he's going to be sort of looking at them quizzically. He's going to look at Vornushka, which is over there. And then M is over there. Marda, rather. And he's going to say,
M is for Marda.
Marda, I noticed that you didn't actually answer any of Vornushka's questions. And she was quite easily distracted by some follow-up questions by you. Now, you see, I, being the smartest person that you will ever meet, and quite possibly on this part of the Sword Coast, recognize that you're being evasive. Now, I have to ask you, weren't you going to answer Vornushka's questions? And, follow-up question, if you aren't, why aren't you?
And Vornushka's like left eyebrow goes like up, like yeah.
I would look over at Doc and I'd be like, Doc, that's rude.
And
You don't grill somebody about their religion. You just don't do it.
Teera, communication.
Communication doesn't mean spilling all your secrets.
We
Sure,
live-
you have shit about you don't want us to know.
I've been an open book.
I suppose that's true. I wish you'd stayed closed.
Here we go again. So I'm getting
And
distracted.
I know that this argument has continued to allow Marda to evade the question which Vornushka asked her just a few minutes ago. And I wonder if this
You're a
is somehow
terrorist.
planned.
You are a terrorist.
Yeah, don't distract me.
Marda, look.
I did all I could.
Marda looks like you can see that they're like she looks at Doc. Trust is a very important thing. I think that it is something that a group of us needs in order to move forward.
But, sorry, was there more, or can I talk now?
You can talk.
Oh yes, great. I yes, 100%. Groups need to have trust. I agree with you 100%. And I trust Teera, and I trust Mizya, and I sort of trust Togo. Vorn was trustworthy. Vornushka and you are relatively new to the group, so whether I trust you or not is somewhat in dispute. And as I noted, somehow it's going to sort of think back. It's going to be roughly when we first met you. I noted it was strange that we were welcoming you into our group so quickly. So to say that I trust you might be overstating it a lot.
You are quite observant of others.
Yes. Suffice it to say, we aren't all who we seem to be.
She looks like very pointedly at Doc. Yes, I think you should know that more than anyone else.
I mean, yes, that's why I said it. There was no subtext. I thought it was clear.
Oh no, it is perfectly clear. Let us just say that the God that I serve is trustworthy, but it is something that I will ask, undeservedly so, that you trust me. It is a jump that I am taking, and I am hoping that you will reciprocate that.
I will not. I hope you can cast Featherfall.
Doc, Marda hasn't done anything to let us distrust her. Do you remember at the tower? Do you remember that at least? How
tower.
she swooped and knocked gargoyles down and helped us fight them off? You remember that?
No,
We were near the Temple of the Restful Dog.
we didn't go to the Temple of the Restful Lily. We were looking at a book, and I don't remember what the name of it was. Oh, no, it's silly. Of course I do. It was called The Price of Beauty. I remember we were in Candlekeep Library, and we were looking at The Price of Beauty, and we said, goodness, where's our friend Little One? Perhaps he stumbled into this book, as books tend to be portals at Candlekeep. And I said, perhaps we should go investigate. And then it seems like we never did, because I don't know what happened to Little One.
Doc, the last thing you remember is us looking at the Price of Beauty?
Well, no, we went to that village, Wormston's Landing,
Yeah,
Holliston's Hold,
Allison's Hold.
and there was that really ornery person of diminutive stature.
Yes,
Uh,
yes. You remember
yes.
her?
Of course I do. I remember her, and I told her to get out and don't come back. And she was very scared. I think she might have wet herself.
Yeah. And I would kind of look around and Teera would be like, look, and would just kind of like do like the just hear me out kind of motion. Be like, I think we should all sleep on it. I think we're all tired. We've been riding hard. I think we should all just go to bed and maybe revisit this in the morning. And maybe not revisit this in the morning. We need to get to the grandfather tree, and we need to stay focused. We're so close. And if we miss it by an hour, I'm gonna rip all of your heads off. Mark my words.
So what memory do you have to offer?
I haven't decided yet. I don't have a ton of happy memories to choose from.
Who says they gotta be happy?
It should be one we don't want to give up. Most of mine
Well-
like that are happy.
Well, you know, some of our hardest memories, like the death of a parent, shapes and changes you. It's not a good memory, but it's a memory that changes your character.
Hmm.
So what kind of world do you live in where the memories you want to keep are only happy?
I can't believe I'm saying this. That's a really good point.
See, communication.
And Teera would shake her head and then be like, anyway, whatever memory I'm giving up is for the grandfather tree, not for you.
I just want to know the season so we won't have any more
I will
tension, per
try
se.
to avoid winter, if that makes you feel better.
I'm saying you got the ice sword and you seem to have a cold heart and kind of walled off.
Hmm. If you'd prefer I take winter, that would make my job easier.
I got winter.
All right. And Teera would kind of like, something would suddenly light in her eyes, and she'd be like, I'll take spring. And then she wouldn't say anything more on the subject, and she would get ready for bed.
I just saw the thing you put in there, Gary. That's hilarious. I think the next time I make a character, that's who it's going to be. Go ahead.
Amazing.
You hear off in the to the side where Mizya has been sitting, just reading. Yes, I have one for fall.
I will take summer.
And I will watch all of you lose your memories.
Thanks.
But Doc doesn't have any, right? Doc's mostly forgotten.
That's true. He's an
Thoughts
empty,
pass.
empty coffer.
As you all begin to settle in for the evening, I would like to know who among you would be on watch around midnight, so it would probably end up being like your second or third watch.
I
got night vision too, so-
I would be awake by then. I also, before everybody just decides to turn in, I am going to, I close my book, my spell book, and I go and I grab, like I walk off to the edge. We're in the woods, right? So I find like a hefty chunk of wood, and I set it in the middle of our camp, and I just start like etching on it with my pen quill, and then where you see that I'm drawing, it starts to glow a little bit, and then that glow fades, and you'll notice this a glowing, almost like dome of the same color briefly blinks in and out around the perimeter of our camp. I'm going to cast Glyph of Warding.
Oh, thank you,
And
Mizya.
I've been doing some studying, and I don't know if it's necessary. It seems like it's relatively safe around these spots, but I figured it might be a good time to try. This senses protective warding on this glyph here, and I point at the piece of wood. And anything inside is fine, but if you cross the threshold, and I will walk out past where that the orb kind of glowed, and you see that it flashes as I kind of leave, and if you cross the threshold, it will blink briefly, and if you try to come back in, and as I step back in, it glows red. You have to say the password, which is mimosa, and then you see that it quickly blinks out again. So yeah, I've cast Glyph of Warding. I'm going to use the it's going to be, I'm going to use the targeted spell. Is that what it's called?
The spell glyph.
Spell glyph. I don't want to blow things up, but I'm going to load it with magic missile, and I'm going to set it so that it targets. So basically, anything larger than just anything that's not a woodland creature that gets within 50 feet of camp will trigger this, and it will be shot by magic missile.
Jesus.
Unless you
Freaking
have the
bunny.
password. Well, it's not going to chart. It's not going to target woodland creatures. So
Okay.
it's not
Okay.
for-
I
Yeah.
got you. Good.
Just every once in a while, a random squirrel just.
Just obliterate it, just explodes.
Yeah, it's like that scene in Harry Potter when the bird lands on the Whomping Willow, and it just. Okay. So with your wards in place and you all begin to settle down for the night, I would like Teera, Marda, and Vernushka to make a perception check at disadvantage.
Perception check at disadvantage, huh?
Doc and Mizya are going to receive this automatically.
It's still a 14.
Oh wait, I have a thing.
1 sec. I got a thing for that.
So, Jay, just for clarification, perception is, from mine, it says it's next to wisdom. So it's not, wisdom's the modifier, perception's a skill.
It's
Yeah.
perception skill. So whatever your number is in your perception skill.
Okay, I'm gonna roll it twice. Take the lower
Yes,
because I can't
correct.
do the disadvantage on mine. So,
It's okay.
Question.
It's okay,
Yeah.
buddy.
oh,
So because I'm a halfling, I'm lucky. So if
Yep.
I roll a 1 on a d20 for an ability check,
Yeah, if you roll a 1, you get to re-roll it and take the new roll.
would that just be the other disadvantage one? Because I rolled twice, and one was a 1 and one was a 3. Would I just take the 3?
You would
then?
no, you can
That's a good
re-roll the
question.
1.
Okay.
Wait.
Okay.
I'm going to admit, I'm a little confused on how disadvantage works when you're already, or lucky works with disadvantage.
Yeah. Because it would be a 1 is what I would take of the disadvantage, and then I'm so I'll leave it up to you.
Interesting.
So, yeah, I'm not seeing the answer readily. I'm just going to say for now, until I get clarification, just re-roll both dice. I'm making that call right now.
I'm the decider.
So we're really okay.
Yeah, re-roll both
Re-roll
dice.
one.
You're still rolling with disadvantage. This is just letting you re-roll.
Oh, okay.
I'll look into that to see what the definitive answer is.
I am so glad I rolled this in D&D Beyond because I got 2 natural 20s, and you can check.
And there's proof.
Oh.
Not that I would doubt you, but I just want to see it because that's
The odds
awesome.
of that happening are 1 in 400.
I think
Yeah.
you're 100% accurate.
Okay,
Wow.
so and it is very perfect that you would get that. However, would you get Vernushka?
Oh, a 7 and a 9 doesn't matter.
And Teera, you got a 14.
Correct.
So as night is well and far along, you're settling down into your restful sleep. Teera and Vernushka, you're sleeping very soundly. Doc and Mizya, as you two are awake, you notice as the fire gets a little bit lower, you've sort of had this orangish yellow glow all around in the woods here, and you see it kind of climbing up the trees a little bit, the glow, not the fire. And occasionally, there's the embers that just sort of snap away from the fire and float up before they dissipate. But you notice that there seems to be, rather than dissipating, it almost looks as if the embers are increasing. And looking around, you notice it's not embers, but it's almost as if it looks like fireflies are illuminating everywhere in the forest. First a few here and there, and then literally over the next 10-15 minutes you watch as the forest all around you begins to glow with the light. And several of these fireflies even alight around you and your companions. Marda, you find yourself gently waking up. Not with a start, but just you awaken. And you can even see as you wake up behind your closed eyes, you can see that there's a little brighter glow than you would have expected. And you open your eyes to see hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of fireflies illuminating the forest. The high forest in this area, at least as far as you can see, seems to be responding to the fact that it is now all right, come on, the 20th Kythorn, and it is the summer solstice.
Can we balance an egg on its base?
You'd have to talk to Doc and Einstein Jr. about that.
You're right.
You eventually, the fireflies persist for quite a while. and eventually begin to, towards morning, before the sun rises, they sort of settle in to the trees and into the grass and begin to fade. And you awaken well rested and ready to start the final leg of your journey. I would like 3 d20 rolls so we can determine our weather for the day.
Not it. I did it last time.
I got it.
15.
Okay.
1.
There you go. Burn the ones now.
11.
No rain, clear skies through that you can see through the canopy, no wind, and it is a little on the warm side in the morning. It's Dwight, you rolled that 15. Roll a d10.
Three.
It's not terribly warm, but you feel that where normally you've been waking up and it's probably been in the 50s to 60s in the morning, it's probably already in the low 70s. It's feeling like it's going to be a warm day. And
Oh dear.
it's
This is going to be a bad one.
it's so hot.
It's gonna be a bad one.
But you all are able to get everything around and get going fairly easily and get started on your day. I need somebody to roll a d20 for me.
Dibs. 4.
Okay. And I need somebody to roll. We're going to do the good old MTD 100 roll. So I need a D100 from somebody. I have the base number.
Okay. 22.
22. Okay. You are less Faerun and more MTD Jake. Yeah, I'll need somebody to do the Celsius translations for all of our wise friends that don't rely on the imperial system. As you begin to travel throughout the day, you find it to be easy going travel. You don't encounter anything unusual throughout the day. The weather, like I said, it's a little bit on the warm side, but otherwise, everything is going really well. You're finding your travel. You're finding what seems to be in sort of a almost marked path, a trail that's sort of leading in the direction you need to go. And I would like perception checks from everyone, please.
Can I? Nah, that's the end of the day. Never mind.
I'm going to say that Mizya, because of the extra heat and the sun is coming down through the canopy of the trees, you will have to make this one a disadvantage.
Perception, you said?
Yep.
I got a nat 20 on my perception.
Okay.
Yay!
My
I got a
real life
15.
perception is like 5.
Still an 18.
Okay.
Wow.
We got an 18, an 18, a 20. Teera and Doc.
15.
5. 4.
So, sorry, you had a 15, Teera?
Correct.
So, that's going to be... Where did that... So, Teera, you and Doc don't see anything right away, but
Damn it.
for Nushka, you're the first to notice this, and then followed almost immediately by Mizya and Marda. picking up on this. As you are riding through the woods, you see that you are not alone. You, Vornushka, see that with that nat 20, you see that you are flanked by at least 8 humans on either side of you.
Vernushka, we're on horses, right?
Yep.
All right, Vernushka's gonna ride up to Teera, and Vernushka's gonna, like, you know, say, act normal, but we're surrounded. Can you sense it? Can you see it?
Teera lies and says she can. What are we surrounded by?
On my 20, do I know how many people on each side of our flanks, or is it just one flank? Or both
You're flanked on either side by 8 individuals, all
okay,
human.
so is it 16 or is it 4 and 4?
That's a good question.
8 on either side. There's a total of 16 people.
Okay.
Oh, Jesus.
And Vernushka's gonna say 8 on the left and 8 on the right.
Vernushka, make a I'm gonna say for
she's-
you, I'm gonna say I want you to make a survival check.
No problem.
And Marda and Mizya,
So
you can choose to make a history check or survival check.
Vernushka's gonna ask Teera, do you want the front guard or the rear guard?
I want to wait and see. I don't think we should attack them. We're outnumbered.
And Vernushka rolls her eyes like in like this exasperated, like, stop being scared, and like
I'm not
kind of
scared. Listen, stop.
like, I'll warn the rest. And she's
I would
going
look-
to
No, Vonushka, stop. And I would actually reach over and grab like the saddle horn of Vornushka's horse.
Remind me,
Like-
you did
who's riding with Vornushka? Is it Marda?
no one.
Okay.
Oh, you want okay.
Yeah, Marda's been riding with you, and
Okay.
Mizya's riding with either Doc or Teera. I'm not sure which.
Marta, are you in the back or the front? Or are you on my shoulders?
Probably behind you, I think. But shoulders would be very fun.
I think it's hilarious. You can sit on one of my shoulders or both, or you can do like a taking a kid in an amusement park, you know?
Oh my god.
Do you know how much of that horse motion would translate to the top of an orc? Marda would be Marda would be all over the
Terrifying.
place.
Marta
Okay,
would
so-
be like the inflatable tube person, just like,
Alright.
like going back.
All right, so
Tira
So
would
Marta's in the
grab the
back.
saddle horn on Vornushka's horse and would just be like, "We have to think about somebody besides ourselves. It's one thing to die in glorious combat. It's another thing to take people with you."
Marda,
first of all, don't ever touch an orc's horse reins. Secondly, I know.
Vernushka,
Oh,
did you roll that survival check? I need to know what you got on your survivals because
Oh,
this might
I'm
paint
sorry.
this might paint how you react to what's
he was
happening.
just wallowing in his awesome one-liner.
I forgot that my character was Vornushka for a second.
Sorry, who? You know, she...
All right,
Oh, you have
survival check.
agency.
Yep, survival.
Okay, here we go. I can't. 15.
So actually it looks like you Vernushka seem to have moved immediately into defensive strategizing as you've recognized that you are vastly outnumbered.
Mhm.
So you don't notice right away. Marda, you immediately recognize who these people are. Not by name, but by you recognize their markings, their tribal markings that these humans wear. And Mizya, you would notice it as well, particularly because they are fairly common in the north. These seem to be a tribe of Uthgard barbarians. And about that time, Vornushka and now Teera and Doc, you see as two figures, one from each side, come riding toward your group.
I'm gonna lean forward. I'm on the back of the horse behind Teera, and I'm gonna lean forward and just kind of whisper into her ear, Teera, it's probably best if you don't do that thing you usually do.
What thing? The thing where I get really angry and hit everything?
Yes, that one.
Oh,
Let's hold off on that for a few minutes, please.
Gotcha. Time out. And I assume Teera sees the people riding at this point.
Yeah, and at this point, Teera, you would probably also, since you are from this region, now that they're making themselves directly known, you would recognize the Uthgard. I don't know, Doc, if you would recognize them. You can roll a history to see if you would recognize anything about them.
You can do it. That is a 15.
You've probably read about or seen something somewhere about them. The one that's riding towards you, since all of you rolled well enough, you would recognize one of the two that's riding towards you is a looks to be a tribal leader. The other one appears to be a shaman of some sort. As they ride towards you, coming in from either side, they're not charging, they're coming in, matching your pace, and you see the tribal leader reaches back and takes her spear, pulls it up, and sort of and holds it out horizontal. And you see the shaman takes his staff, and he also holds it. He's holding onto the reins of his horse, and kind of lays it across, but it's also being displayed horizontal. As she rides in closer, she's kind of looking up and down, looking over your group, and you see as she closes in, she also has a very almost uncharacteristically ornate quiver and bow strapped across her back, and her the various accoutrements that make up her tribal dress seem to be almost surprisingly clean and pristine. But as she rides forward, she looks to your group and says, "Are you pilgrims to Grandfather Tree?"
Teera has been sitting very tall in the saddle, trying to be as broad as she can, kind of. And she would nod and she'd be like, "We are."
"Do you come with good intentions?"
Yes. And Teera this whole time would be kind of glancing quickly at Marda to kind of confirm.
Yeah, Marda's nodding,
Yep, yep, we sure are. We sure are. Your good intentions.
The best.
Of course, nothing but good.
And Vernushka is going to say,
Oh my god.
nothing. She's
Her tongue. She's
You
gonna
get a
say
little-
something snarky, but she thinks better of it.
You get a little bit of side eye, and she says, "I am Sigrid Tree Ghost. This is Anvinda Tree Ghost. We are of the tree ghosts that protect Grandfather Tree. Our tribe patrols these woods and protects Grandfather Tree's grove.
Can I ask a question?
Is that Ricky or Vornishka?
It's Vernushka and Ricky. Both of us have the same question.
You may.
Why is it a grandfather tree? As opposed to like a great grandfather or like why is it grandfather tree?
Really, this is what we're going to ask now.
Vornishka, the patriarchy is not to be analyzed at this time.
Okay. Just curious. Maybe you ask me later. I'll figure it out later.
Grandfather tree is an Erakor, the eldest of the treants. If that is the question you wish to ask of Grandfather Tree during your pilgrimage, you are more than welcome to do so.
That'd be great.
At this point, I would give Vornushka a dirty look. And if she's still close enough, I would even kind of bump her saddle with my leg.
Stay on the trail. You will arrive at the entrance to the spiral, where you will be greeted by the first of the great oaks and the Dryad Guardian.
Sorry, do we get just one question, or do we get each ask a question for each memory?
How you choose to use your meditation, should you make it all the way to Grandfather Tree, is entirely between you and Grandfather Tree. Proceed. Keep your weapons sheathed and your intentions well. And she gives a whistle, and her and the shaman Anvinder, they sort of break off. But you notice as you all are riding, they stay with you. And after a time, you notice the trees are beginning to thin. And you see, as you approach this area, as the light grows a bit brighter, perhaps much to your chagrin, Mizya, as it is midday, the sun is high in the sky, you see that there is a rise of hill going up on one side and a rise on the other, but that the trail sort of leads into this channel between these two hills, where you can see, just within side, you can see a large, fully mature oak tree. And you can see that the path continues on past this and around, and you can see dotted around a couple more of these, 3 more in fact, of these oak trees. But these fully mature oak trees, probably hundreds of years old, are dwarfed by the great oak tree in the middle. You see what is clearly Grandfather Tree. The trunk, the base of this tree, measuring 50 feet in diameter. The crown soaring 350 feet into the sky. These fully mature oaks look like saplings next to this tree. As you approach the first tree, what looks like a gathering of brightly colored green leaves seem to detach from the tree, and a humanoid feminine form takes shape as it steps into your path and holds up its hand. Your spring offering. A memory of spring freely given.
Teera would look over at Vornushka and kind of step forward. And she would kind of like close her eyes and just, does she have to verbally describe
As you
this
step
memory?
forward, the dryad takes a step forward, and as you sort of close your eyes, you feel what feels like gentle branches brushing past your face. The fingers of the dryad lifts your chin. Look at me.
I open my eyes.
As you open your eyes, you see two shining orbs of green light, the eyes of this dryad.
Mhm.
And the memory begins to move to the forefront. Teera, what memory do you surrender to the spring dryad?
So, one spring, unbeknownst to her, the spring before everything happened with her village and her brother, it was, her brother was just barely 6, and they were fishing in a nearby river. The river was, because it was spring, was kind of swollen with the melt from the nearby mountains, and it was very, the river was moving fast. But all the same, she went fishing with her brother, and it was a very happy memory. And then just as suddenly, she looked up and he was gone, and he'd been swept away by the river. And without thinking about it at all, she dove in after him. And they both very nearly drowned. And this is an incident that they never told their parents because Teera demanded it, that they would just worry. But Teera ended up being able to fish Torin out of the river. And this is kind of one memory that Teera holds in her mind as like kind of proof of her still being good. Like, Teera has killed a lot of people and done a lot of pretty gruesome things, and she wants to believe in her heart that she's a good person, and this is a purely good thing that she did. And also it represents her protecting her brother and protecting those weaker than herself. So to lose this memory is really kind of losing that goodness and that kind of part of who she is, and that's the memory she gives up.
And you all experience this memory. As Teera looks into the eyes of this dryad, you see the leaves of the oak tree sort of shudder, and it looks as if several hundreds, thousands of leaves begin to fall, but they're cascading downward. And as they do so, the leaves are sort of flipping and revealing different shades of green as you see a visual representation of this memory sort of portrayed as if the leaves were pixels, shifting and showing you this sort of rudimentary three-dimensional version of this. But you also all experience the emotion tied to, and you feel the brief sense of loss as you sacrifice that memory, Teera. And the leaves seem to and you recognize it as it plays out in front of you. And as it goes up into the tree, the dryad steps back and says, "Your offering is accepted." And Teera, you no longer have that memory.
Yeah, Teera doesn't remember what she gave up, but apparently it was good enough.
You continue.
Do we have it? Do we remember seeing it?
You do.
After she forgets it?
You do remember seeing it. Yep. You begin, or rather continue, your way around. And after a short time, you come to another oak tree. This time, a dryad steps out, and its green leaves are darker, and there are signs of what look almost like in parts of it like fruit, and the tree itself, even though it's an oak tree, it appears as though various fruits are in early stages of blossoming. And the dryad steps out and says, "Your offering." Who steps forward for the summer offering?
Marda takes a few slow steps, and every time she does so, it coincides with a deep breath that she inhales through her nose and exhales as she steps forward.
The dryad takes a knee, crouching down to meet your halfling size. As it looks forward, "Look into my eyes. What memory do you offer to the dryad?"
Immediately, what you feel is the sweltering heat that can only be given off by hot cobblestones and buildings, as you see a younger Marda, probably in early 20s, running through the streets of what looked to be quite a large, almost like a city. Bustling people stand by. Very few take notice to the halfling as she is weaving and dodging over people's legs and arms and baskets and carts. Quite deftly so. And you can see that she is wearing these, what look to be like some type of cleric or I forget the word, like a religious student, like the guard, the law,
like an acolyte.
Yeah, acolyte. That's what I was. Yeah, like an acolyte. As she's running, and you can very clearly see that she is paying no mind to the pristineness of them as they are getting dirtied, and as she runs in puddles, and we can hear the bell tolling in the distance, a slow and steady rhythm as she's running. And as she gets to the bottom of the stairs, she takes a look down, and she quickly, with a quick movement of her hand, and the garments are pristine again. And another person steps beside her, a halfling whose face matches Marda's. And they look at each other and grin, both wearing the same outfit. If you looked at them, you would not be able to tell them apart, but Marda and Petra know that they are very different. And as they start heading up the stairs, they both get to the main hall and sit with the other acolytes. And as the procession goes on, each acolyte goes to the front and begins this ceremony, these rituals that involve incense and various other substances that are meant to represent the god or goddess that they are going to be serving. So as the ingredients go into the bowl, something either, for example, red ribbons for Ilmater, or something appears in it and it's given out. And Petra goes up first, and as the ingredients get put in, all we see is this blinding light and the crowd like gasps, and Petra beams as like Thander, the Morning Lord, is revealed to her as she gets this golden sunbeam. And then it is Marda's turn as she goes up, and the memory begins to fade as Petra and Marda make eye contact, and there's that excitement, that expectation, and the knowledge that because they're so similar, because they are the same, they will both serve Lythander and be, together able to serve the Morning Lord. And there's that excitement. And as Marda approaches the bowl, with that excitement still in her mind's eye, that is where the memory fades.
You all feel that sense of excitement building up, and you feel that sudden shift as the memory ends, visually portrayed in these leaves. And Marda, you're left with that feeling of having just had an exciting dream, and the moment you've awoken, you can't grasp the details. There's a bit of light and excitement, but what it means you don't know as that memory is taken from you. The Dryad looks at you, bows, stands up, and motions. Your offering is accepted. You move on eventually to the third tree. This oak tree, its leaves appearing in a state of shifting from green into bright yellow, orange, red, brown, and reversing back. It seems to be shifting between displaying the various colors of autumn. And a Dryad, this one steps out a little bit slower, looking older. Its leaves mostly seeming to be towards the brown color of nearly dead leaves as it steps forward.
I step forward to this one. Yes, well, I think you'll want to take my memory now, I suppose.
Yes, your offering. And it just stares into your eyes.
And you see Mizya walking alongside a river, and you see that those yellow and orange and leaves are starting to float down the river as fall is starting to turn the leaves. And just off to the side, you see the walls of Silvery Moon as Mizya is walking alongside this river, and there's in the memory you feel like a presence off to the side. Mizya's speaking with someone as they walk along this river, this riverbed. And the memory for Mizya is not so much the sights and sounds of the memory, but the feeling they had in that moment, talking to this person as they're walking alongside the river. And it's the first time that Mizya can recall feeling like they had a friend, an actual friend. In decades and decades, in the Underdark and then at Silvery Moon, they, for the first time, feel accepted for who they are, and this is their friend walking. And then Mizya turns and looks at this person, and that feeling of like love and belonging just turns immediately to despair as Mizya looks at Laryl Silverhand, who was her companion in Silvery Moon. And Mizya, that memory has at the same time, it's one of the most transformative memories of Mizya's life, and also one of the most painful, given what's happened with Laryl since that moment, or in the last few days. So,
and again, you all experience this roller coaster of emotions, these greatly shifting emotions, and the last thing you see and feel is this face that contains that sensation of the first time of belonging, of hope, of love, of companionship. And you sense that loss as the image portrayed in the kaleidoscope of autumn leaves dissipates until only the eyes remain, and then those disappear. You feel that sense of loss for a moment, followed by just nothing as the memory is taken from Mizya. As the Dryad steps back from you, it moves a little bit slower. You hear its limbs creaking as it steps in motion. Your offering is accepted. And you all progress to the final tree. And by this time you've noticed that as you've been moving between these berms of where the hill rises on either side, you've been moving in a spiral towards the center where the grandfather tree is. The last tree is a great oak with no leaves upon it. Its leafless limbs stretching upwards into the sky. And you can hear just the constant creak and clatter of the branches against one another. Then you hear that sound as you hear a sound as if a branch is breaking off in a winter storm. As from the trunk steps forward a dark, leafless dryad, seeming not so much to be holding a cane as a staff just extends from the gnarled wood of its hand as it moves forward. No. Would give the memory of winter as an offering.
Aye, Vernushka does.
As you step forward, the rough, sharp edges of the Dryad's other hand reaches up and grasps your arm, and you feel the cold bark against your skin as it peers into you with empty eye sockets looking like hollows of a tree. And what memory do you give?
Vernushka is sitting inside of a high tent with her mother on the night before her Sandan Vuk, before she becomes an adult Orc tribe member. Her mom looks across from her, broad shoulders and strong, and says to her, "You will be chief one day." And Vernushka goes, "No, Vorn." And she goes, "No. His fate is different. You will be chief. You will be the protector of the clan." And Vernushka, before she can offer a counter argument, the mom says, "Silence. Promise me that you will not kill your brother for his betrayal." Vernushka goes, "Betrayal? How? No. Promise me you will not let his soul become absorbed into the axe." And Vernushka looks at her mother confused and unable to process what she's saying to her. And her mom looks at her, her eyes stare into her, and she grabs her, both of her forearms and her wrist like in this clasp, and she goes, "Promise me, Vernushka. Promise me you will protect him from harm." And confused, wind howling outside of the high tent as the winter night comes. "I promise, Mother. I promise." And that is the memory she offers.
And all of you see this portrayed as falling snow, like the snow knocked loose from a tree's branches in the middle of winter. The shifting whites and blues. You see this memory portrayed, and you feel this, and you feel the shift as Vernushka sacrifices the memory of her promise to her mother not to kill her brother. And the rickety old dryad releases Vernushka's arm, steps back and says, "Your offering is accepted. You may sit before grandfather tree." And as you all continue around the path, you see as you come around the curve between these tall berms, you see an area at the base of this tree. There are dozens of people of all kinds that are seated on the grass around the base of this massive oak tree, towering high into the sky. You see that some people are standing with hands outstretched, looking up. Some are on their knees, kneeling forward towards it. Some are just casually sitting and smoking a pipe. There's a group of what look to be 3 furbolgs that are just sitting on a blanket and are serving tea to one another and just gazing admiringly up at this tree. Everybody seems to be taking in the tree in their own way. There's plenty of space between all of these different groups. We're going to move into a narrative wrap-up, but I would like to know, as you approach now, and you do see all around the edge and sometimes near the people, there's various horses or mules or whatever that people just have milling nearby. What do you do to take up? How do you present yourself before the tree? That's what I want to know.
Vernushka will come and sit dead center in front of the tree, as close as she possibly can. And if it breaks from the crowd, that's fine. But if not, that's fine too. But she's at the center of the tree. Almost as if you can draw a line between the tree, she's at the dead center of it. And she takes her axe off of her back and like sits cross-legged in a meditation stance and sets the axe in front of the tree. And what I see is a black reddish ember ash kind of lifting from the axe itself, but dissipating before it gets more than 2 inches away from the axe. And she just sits there and hands on knees, breathing through the nose. And she closes her eyes, and then when she opens them, they are burning red hot flames.
Teera would see this, and she would actually go and sit right next to Vernushka, closer than you might expect. And this stance, this position Vernushka is in is an orcish meditation, and this is something Teera's familiar with. She would sit in the same position she would take her icy blade off of her back, set it in front of her the same way. And I would imagine there's kind of like a dry ice kind of fog coming off of it, almost a direct comparison to Vornushka's ash coming off of hers. And she would sit there for just a second, and she would reach over and she would actually take Vornushka's hand, because seeing this memory and this love she has for her brother, Teera is kind of realizing that at the very least we are focused on getting Vorn back, and that is more of a connection than she has felt with Vornushka so far. And she would meditate just the same.
What about the rest of
Marda takes her staff and places it in front of her down and drops to her knees, and with the staff kind of nestled into some maybe roots that are radiating from the tree, she ensures that the staff is within the tree itself as she kneels down and places her forehead on the staff.
Doc isn't particularly interested in this. He's content to sort of stand near the back, and he's just playing with something in his pocket. And he glances down to his lapel, his white lab coat, and he notices a speck of red, and he sort of licks his thumb and starts to try and wipe it out.
Oh.
And I think Mish is also not terribly interested in like participating in any way, but is just curious and observing and just watching what's happening. Kind of a studious eye.
As you all take up your positions, some of you in meditation, some of you with this interest, you can't help but feel that there is some sort of presence nearby. And you feel, even you, Mizya and Doc, sort of distancing yourself a little bit, you feel a connection, almost a tangible thread connecting each of you to one another in this moment. And then you all become aware as the sounds of the forest around you and others in quiet meditation begins to recede. And suddenly your vision is filled with the moon, which you saw the night before in a crescent form. And you watch as the moon recedes to new moon and grows to full moon, and recedes to new moon and grows to full moon. As it grows to full moon, you watch, though, as it's also growing, seems to be growing larger. And you're seeing it sort of move. It's happening as it moves across the sky. And in that last time, right before it hits full and it sets, you watch as each time it's getting later and later at night, and you watch the moon rise. And this time, this moon is a deep red, blood red color as it rises up. And you see silhouetted is a hilltop. And as the red moon rises, you see on top of this hilltop, a structure materializes. A building. A single-story building. It's hard to tell exactly what it is in silhouette form. And then suddenly you feel a pulling, as if somebody grabs you by your front of your shirt and yanks you forward and right towards the silhouette. And you move in through a lighted window, and it seems as if a door slides open and you pass through to the center of this structure. You catch glimpses, feelings really, of shadowy figures in various places moving around. As you are pulled to this central area, a garden in the center of, now that you've moved through the interior, this has a very, the best way I can describe it is it seems a lot like a lot of buildings you would see in Japanese culture, where there's sort of sliding rice paper doors and fences, and this garden, very well manicured garden. And in the center of the garden, the red moon is high, and you sense that there are figures all around this garden waiting in anticipation. As the light of the red moon comes down, and you see in a dedicated central section of this garden, a black lotus growing, bathing in the light of a blood moon. As you see red and black energy begin to coalesce around it. Suddenly, you feel as if you are all yanked forward right into these mists of red and black of this lotus, this black lotus. And for a moment, you just see pure darkness. And then you see the disk of the full red moon, except this time it flips and it's flat as it's flipping like a coin. And you see the moon and it flips over and you see the symbol of Timora. And you watch as it comes down and lands in the outstretched palm of stone, the turtle clawed hand of Togo, Timora side up. But as it lands, it cracks, and you see cracks beginning to appear and translating into that stone hand, micro fissures crawling down the arm, as you see silhouetted in the red light of this, the stone petrified features of Togo in that shrine to Sune at the Temple of the Restful Lily. And then you see another transition as you are sort of pulled into the eyes of Togo, and you feel yourself sweeping rapidly across a landscape towards a city, and into the center of the city, into a high towered building, up the front and into a window where you see in this a central room of this, you see that there is a stone table or dais or altar, and laid upon this you see the form of Vorn. Candles lit all around as your presence all just suddenly rushes in. The candles waver, and streaming in through the window is the light of this red moon coming through, and it strikes a stained glass window, or not window, like a decoration that is hanging in front of the window, with a raven flying in front of a white moon that now appears red, and the light cascades through and falls across Vorn's body. And as Vorn's dead body lays there, you see fingers beginning to twitch. And then everything in rapid reversal. And the last thing you see is the light. This red light, centralized, everything almost like tunnel. You see as you all feel like you're slamming back into your bodies after an astral projection, an out-of-body experience. But as you slam back into your own body, Doc, you feel, and you all just catch a glimpse of this in your mind's eye, as everybody slams back in, because of this connection between all of you. Doc, you slam back into your body, and for just a moment, there's a ripple, and you see several iterations of Doc, like shadow images, just go. Mizya, for just a moment, as you slam back in, you all see Mizya looking one last time at Narbondel, the Tower of Light, the Pillar of Light that gives illumination and tells the time of day, and Menzel Berenzen, before turning away. You see Vornushka standing over the dead body of her mother, gripping the blood axe, looking into the woods at a receding figure. You feel the anger filling her. Anger that may not entirely be her own. You see an 11-year-old Teera being welcomed in by orcs. But she's constantly looking to her side for somebody who isn't there. And we see the halfling Marda standing next to a shimmering, illuminated image of her sister Petra. Her own presence reduced to shadow, or the darkness that the light doesn't touch. You're not sure. His grandfather tree has imparted its wisdom to you. And that is where we are going to end this session. I didn't plan that. That music just ended right as I ended.
Did it really? Oh,
I love when that
God.
happens. I love when that happens. Oh man.
Incredible. Wow. S tier.
Absolutely not, Gary. You just leveled up to 7.
Gary's right though. We should be level 8. That
No,
wasn't
you just
right.
leveled up to 7.
7. Guys, the more we level up, the quicker the campaign's over.
So, Gary just glitched hard. You all see that, right?
Yeah, she's
okay.
glitched, right?
I was checking my own internet connection, so I think we're gonna lose Cari here in a moment.
That's what happens when you deny a well-earned level.
I agree with Gary.
So, you literally just leveled up to 7.
I mean,
not
last session, but okay.
Well, still.
Last session I played.
Yeah. So, as a reminder, that is our this was our last live session for this year, for 2022. However, we will be back. We will be back on hold on a second. Everybody's going to be all screwed up because Cari wound up dropping. Let me fix this real quick. There we go. Let's do that and do that. All right, you're all in the wrong place. We'll see if Cari actually can get back in. At any rate, every Monday night from here on out, we will be playing pre-recorded one-on-one interludes. As our first interlude next Monday night will be with Doc. It is technically interlude 7. And I've already forgotten the title of it. But that will be
I had a dream
that you were calling. Yes, that will be next Monday, followed by the following week by Teera's one-on-one that has already been recorded. That one is called Sometimes You Have to Get Angry to Get Things Done. And behind the scenes, we'll be recording the other ones and playing those on Monday night, so we hope you will tune in for those. Yeah, this was you guys finally made it to the grandfather tree. I'm so excited. I do have a little bit of information to give you afterwards, but we will be returning in the new year. Stay tuned for when we return with our regular live sessions. We'll have more information about that. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. We always appreciate you. I love seeing people interacting in the chat. It's awesome. And if you're somebody that likes to lurk quietly in the background, well, by all means do that, and we appreciate you all the same. In just a moment, we are going to, looks like we're going to raid our friend Tildaloo. There we go. We'll get that going. So, yeah, and I want to thank all of these amazing players. I just absolutely love this gaming group. I love getting to play with all of you. You bring amazing role play and characters to the table. And I'm looking forward to the one-on-ones with everybody. So a huge thank you, as always, to Gary, Cari, M, Dwight, and Ricky, without whom it would just be me talking to myself for a couple hours. With that, we're going to go ahead and end this stream the same way we end every stream. And you can say it with me if you want. Bye-bye.